Welcome to the Ruck Off Rugby Podcast with myself, Mark Moss.
And myself, Sam Leaney.
If you like rugby content, please like, share and subscribe to this YouTube channel or on iTunes and Spotify at Ruck Off Rugby. Please subscribe and we will get out more content.
So, Max, welcome to the podcast. How are you keeping? How are you dealing with lockdown? What are you doing to keep yourself busy?
Yeah, good afternoon, Sammy. Mossy, thanks very much for having me. So, coping with lockdown, probably the way to put it. I'm not too bad, mate. I'm in a little flat in Gloucester. I've managed to nick a little rowing machine from the gym I work at, the Huddle, and I've got a bunch of dumbbells from home that I've got on the balcony. So, and I'm running in the local park. So, mate, I'm keeping all right.
Mate, you like training, I suppose. There's a lot of boys, especially rugby boys, that will be struggling with motivation, but you're the ones that definitely likes to train, don't you?
Yeah, mate. I kind of spoke to you about this a little bit as well, but I'm a believer that the people that are training hard in lockdown are the people that were training hard before. I don't think lockdown really changes too much, in my opinion. It may change what facilities and equipment you've got, but it doesn't really change your attitude. Learned juggling. First week of lockdown, learned juggling.
Yeah.
So that was good, mate. Just thought, like, I've always wanted to learn. And what better time than when you're locked in a house by yourself.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, good.
Great stuff. So, Max, welcome to the podcast, first of all. Today's episode, we're going to look at life on the edge of being a professional rugby player. Obviously, yourself playing in the championship with Hartpury, managing life, work and rugby as well at the same time, trying to make rugby a full-time job, and also looking at the university system in England. So, Max, tell us where you are now and how you got there.
So, afternoon, Mossy. So I'm at Hartpury now. I'm a Hartpury Championship rugby player. I suppose that's probably a title. But yeah, so I came from Reading. Went to the oratory school in Reading. Grew up there. Was in the Irish Academy. I had a bit of ups and downs. Was in there from when I was probably about 13 to 18, but I got dropped in the middle and then recalled to play in the Academy League. In my final year of school, but didn't get a contract after school. Got picked to play for England Counties 18s for a test against France and Ireland, which was pretty cool. But yeah, so I didn't get a contract out of school. So I thought, what's the best route to kind of go? And Hartpury's world renowned for producing rugby players. There's an endless list. But so I thought, right, what better place to go than go to Hartpury and see if I can do anything with my rugby. And I thought I can go there, study as well. So it's best of both worlds, really, kind of giving myself a backup plan before I've even started. So I turned up there.
I'll ask you. So first year Hartpury, Max, I was in my second year when first sort of I knew of you. First year was a little bit of learning as well as a few beers, was it?
Yeah, you could say learning. Mate, started off in the freshers, captain the freshers, and then got asked to train with the threes a couple of weeks later, and mate, pretty much stayed in the threes the whole of my first year. Learned a lot. One of Leggy's legends. Captain the threes for the whole of my first year. Really played one game in the twos, but learnt a massive amount that year. And I kind of at the end of the year I thought, right, okay, I don't want to be at Hartpury for 3 years and just play in the threes. So I thought, how can I take my game to the next level? What can I do? And I thought of sevens. I thought a summer playing sevens would improve my game, my fitness, my skillfulness, your one-on-one attack and defence. That's where I reckon I can take my game to the next level. So I did. So I played.
What was your impressions of Hartpury before you got there? What were you expecting, should I say, from coming straight out of an academy, obviously playing England Counties? Where did you expect to fit in that system? Were you expecting to go straight in the first team, or what were you expecting?
Absolutely not. Not expecting to go into the first team, but probably not expected to be as low on the pecking order as I was. like coming from an academy, you think you're all right, and then I messaged the DOR Barnsley in the first week, and I said, "Hi mate, is there any rugby going on?" And he said, "You'll have to wait until next week. There's the freshers trials. You turn up and there's 100 people there." By this point, Limo's already playing in the first team, so he didn't know who I am. And so
I'm just seeing you on the nights out, mate.
yeah. Let's pretend that you drink. That's not true.
Yeah, it's not true, is it at all? Not at all.
So I turned up to the freshers trial, mate, and what there was like 10 of us that got picked from there to train with the threes. So that was a humbling process, probably at the start of Hartpury, coming from England Counties 18s, where you probably think you're all right, but then you come into a system now where you're playing with, like at the moment, played in the back row with Akapusi Kura, Q, he's probably Fiji's best ever player. And I turned up to Hartpury playing England Counties 18s, thought I was all right.
So yeah, second year and progressing on, how did the sevens go in the summer to start with, and how did that set you up for going into second year at uni?
Yeah, I think the sevens in the summer was massively influential for me. I think it really shaped my year, which was probably my best year of rugby. So I played for Apache Sevens in the summer and just couldn't play enough rugby. Like, just kept on playing, loads of tournaments, getting it in me and just getting me ready for pre-season. Turned up for pre-season. There were probably 3 sevens. I got invited to ones pre-season in my second year, and kind of didn't just, you can sometimes get yourself worked up with selection, but I just didn't. I just turned up to training, kept training as hard as I could, pushing myself in the fitness and everything like that. And come the first pre-season game of the year, I was picked to start for the ones, which was a fairly big shock, to be honest. But yeah, I just kind of went out and everything went well. My first game in my second year was for the threes. Was a promotion game for the threes, and my last game was for England students.
Class. Love that.
Pretty great journey. So what changed in that second year, really, to get you in the England student shirt, that from a third team player at Hartpury to an England student international? What changed?
Probably the coaching I was exposed to, and the analysis. The sevens, I think, developed my game. But so I remember, and Sammy will know this, but so I was picked on the bench for the first league game of the year against Loughborough. We got pumped in that game. That was a rude awakening. And then I got picked to start in the Oxford game against Oxford Uni, which wasn't a league game. And I played in that. I thought did okay, but had a review with Dan Murphy, our coach, afterwards, and yeah, he basically said that I was going to be with the twos next week, which was pretty tough to take, after having like a pretty big high of being in the ones, and you're telling your friends you're in the ones, to then go back to them and suddenly you're not in the ones. You don't know what they're going to think, and so that was pretty tough to take. But he said, look, mate, we've got a lot of back rowers. You've got to show us your point of difference and what you can do to make us pick you, make us it be a non-negotiable. And he gave me the tip to look for a pick through the ruck. So when you clear out a ruck and then seal over it, and then if potentially the guards aren't looking either side, just sneak through. Obviously quite a short person myself, came in pretty handy. I played 2 games for the twos. Did it in both games. Literally the first game I played for the twos, off the kickoff, we won the ball back and there was a ruck and I just picked straight through the middle of it. So when I went through my analysis with Murph, he was pretty happy with that. And yeah, anyway, then 2 games later, there was an injury in the ones. Linny called me up to the team run, was on the bench against Northumbria. Again, the ones lost, went on a bit of a bad streak, but the game after, I started, got an opportunity against Nottingham Trent, and yeah, kind of the rest is history. Put a good streak together of 5 or 6 games, and then my last game pre-Christmas was with RFC. Made my RFC debut. against Ulster away.
So I think for those people listening, I think Hartpury University, for those that don't know, they're probably one of the best. They are the best rugby universities in the UK. Myself and Max both went there, and it's interesting to hear Max's stories coming from the thirds all the way through to performing for the championship team. But I suppose question, when you go into Hartpury, when I went there, I was told there's 5 teams, and I was thinking I was going to work your way up. But I suppose with the facilities there, there's always an opportunity. There's different setups within those teams, but there's always going to be a chance of progressing. And if you perform, you're going to get noticed. It's not like a Bath Uni where it's a huge campus base and there's hundreds of thousands. It's very small, which again it's got probably one of the best facilities as well alongside that. So don't want to big them up too much, but it's a chance for anyone to get noticed, isn't it?
I completely agree, and it's a cliche, but you play well and you'll do well. But even in the 3s and 4s at Hartpury, like the ones players, it's quite renowned for it. We go and watch them. You go and watch, you see what people in the 3s are doing. I remember my first year on a night out, but I was talking to Negri, and he was like, "Oh, I hear you getting on well in the 3s. You're playing well at the moment." And I was just like, "How on earth do you know that? I'm in the 3s, like I'm virtually a nobody. Like I don't know why you're talking to me even." And then when you're in the 1s, you realise that you know people in the 3s.
Yeah, for sure.
You go and watch them every week, and you know who's playing well. You know who's doing what.
Yeah, so talking about the system of just university rugby in general, how much exposure did you get to being a professional? I presume that playing in that top level is basically like treating yourself as a professional, but also having the academics alongside that. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, my second year, I probably struggled to cope with a lot because it was such a big leap from my first year, and that's probably one of the things. A couple of us, like a good friend of mine and Sam's, Pash, we both went from our first year being completely in the 3s to our second year leaping straight to the 1s, which was really hard. Because you're in the 3s, your game gets videoed, but you don't do analysis. And then suddenly you go into the 1s and your game gets individually clipped. So you have all your clips separately clipped. It's a big step. And then academically, like Mondays and Tuesdays were long days for me. I was on a Monday, I was in at 7 o'clock. I was up at 6, in at 7 for analysis, training, gym. And then I'd stay in all day. I'd have lectures, and then I'd have coaching placement with Gloucester DPP from 6 till 8. So I wasn't home till 8:30, and then I was up at 7 a.m. the next morning. Well, up at 6, in for training at 7. I mean, that's a long day.
I think the especially once if you're lucky enough to play in the 1s, which we're both incredibly grateful to have done. It's allowed us to get to the next level. I think the way they've structured it now with the Bucks Super League, so it's the top 10 teams across the country, and that platform alone, it's getting streamed. Most games are getting streamed now. Coverage is brilliant.
They're on TV, aren't they, as well, with free sports?
Yeah. There's some of the games on TV, and I think especially with some of the universities being Hartpury, Gloucester train at our facilities, for example, with those kind of clubs and those links, it's incredibly beneficial for someone to play in that league and strive to get in those teams and be on those. I'm trying to say, be on the shop window. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Sorry, be in the shop window for those kind of teams, and what an opportunity to try and get into that league.
Yeah, let's talk final year then about both of you. So when you headed into your third year of university, what were you thinking towards the end of that? So where do you think your rugby was going to take you? Did you have a plan? Did you have a backup plan? What were you guys thinking?
My backup plan was my uni, I suppose. But mate, I was on a massive high, and it all came crumbling down. So obviously my second year went real well and finished strong with students, and then start of my third year, invited to RFC pre-season for the first time. And again, just didn't think too much about it. Just kind of tried to work as hard as I could and see what I could get. Got to train against Bristol, which was kind of my first glimpse of like professional, or not professional, but Premiership rugby. And then got picked to play a pre-season game against Worcester, which was a fairly rude awakening. We got pumped by them, but I scored in that game, and that was massive for me. That was a pretty big moment. And then the first week of the first league game, I broke my foot, which was real tough. Like coming from such a high, like a massive second year, you know, making my RFC debut, making my ones debut, playing for students, and then all going so well in pre-season, and then just when I think I'm in with a shout of making my champ debut, I broke my foot, which was real tough. That was my first proper significant injury, and mentally that was hard.
With that injury, Max, I suppose again with all three of us have been to university. We're in the very privileged position that we had something going alongside. For Mark, it's coaching. For us, it's our playing. Did that have a huge factor in coping with that injury? I know it was your first sort of major one, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate, it was massive. And especially the first 4 weeks was a real wake-up call. Like, A, it was extremely painful, but B, like I couldn't... It's just basic things, mate, when you like, you cook your food, right? And I couldn't carry my plate from the side to the table because I had to go on my crutches. And I couldn't do that. And the day I did my injury, it was on a Monday morning. And in the Monday, and you just, you know, you go home. I went to the doctors, got an X-ray, found out I was broken, and you're broken, mate. It's real tough to take. And then that evening, I had to go in. We went into Hartpury. We had our head shaved for Reece Oakley, who like the old captain is now our coach of Hartpury. We had a head shave for him for cancer. So I saw everyone and all the coaches, and everyone's asking you questions while you're on crutches, and it's tough because you have to, you know, straight away talk about it. But for me, to go from having it all go so well to then suddenly have not a lot of it was tough. And I think my course helped me understand that there's a difference between when you come back to playing, to return to play and return to performance. Because when you come back from your injury, your fitness, like I've never experienced it before, but that's a hell of a burn in your lungs when you first get running again.
There's getting running fit and there's match fit.
Yeah, massively, mate, massively. And I remember my first game back, I was in the twos. You get some game time, and then felt all right in that game, and then was on the bench for the ones a week after against, I think it was Durham. And lungs were on fire, mate. I only got like 30 minutes and my lungs were on absolute fire. And it wasn't for a couple of weeks, that I started to feel good in a game again.
So you talk about like really struggling there with that being a first injury. How did you cope? What were your coping mechanisms? Do you think they were negative? Do you think they helped push you forward? Do you throw yourself into something else? How did you cope with it?
I'd say probably my family and probably my girlfriend were massively influential in that, helping support me, and probably my friends as well. Friends to an extent. Sometimes they beat you down. They beat you down. Like I remember I was sat on the crumb, like I turned up to all the analysis sessions and training and everything like that, and you're watching them. And one training session, I was just sat on the crumb and my foot was really hurting. And Nick Carpenter, just like relentlessly giving me so much chat. And I was like, mate, I'm just going to leave now before I just lose my mind. But no, I'd say my family, my brother, my mum and dad, my girlfriend Grace, massively helped. I lent on them massively during that time. Probably threw myself into my course a little bit more as well. Being at the start of my third year with my dissertation and everything like that. I probably threw myself into a bit of that. And just rehab so hard, mate. Banksy was our...
It's the only thing you can do, and when you get stuff off physios like that, you just do it, don't you? And you do it to the best you can, because that's all you can do, and you want to... There's nothing more than the only thing you want to do, and you're at that university for doing that one thing, and when that's taken away from you, it's tough. So you make whatever physio rehab you get, you got to do it.
Mate,
I think it's different for somebody like myself listening to something like this of an injury, or somebody that's a casual rugby player, or somebody in the real world, let's say, that isn't trying to push there, isn't trying to get a professional career, and we don't understand the feelings that you guys go through when you get injured, of how opportunities might be taken away from you just because you're not exposed. What were your thoughts going through your head when you got injured around your career?
Gutted, mate. Absolutely gutted. Like I said, I was doing all right in that pre-season. I started against Worcester, started against Cindy, played against Bristol, and Cinderford was our last game before the league game. I played on a Thursday, got involved in that. I was flying, mate. I thought I had a real strong chance of playing in the first league game against Carnegie, and then Monday of training, just on a tackle bag and go back, roll over on the side of my foot, and I knew, when I heard a crack.
Yeah.
And then I just tried to carry on running and play, and then it went into a full pitch, and I was like, mate, I can't run here. If I'll just get exposed and I'll look rubbish. Went to his side, took my shoe off, spoke to the physio, mate. Then I knew something was bad, and it was tough to take, mate, because initially you don't think it's so bad, and I knew that then my sights probably just sunk a bit. I was then suddenly not looking at Championship, I was looking at Bucks, and when I came back in, initially it was okay because Bucks hadn't started playing yet, so I knew I had a bit of a window. But I know my physio and S&C coaches both they got annoyed with me because I kept just pushing so hard and saying that and telling everyone I'm going to be back. I'm going to be back early. I'm going to be back early. And actually,
being optimistic, innit? It's being optimistic, and you'd rather that. But they have to keep an eye on you, don't they?
And they felt that I was putting pressure on them, which is obviously my bad. But you just want it so bad, so it's hard to accept that potentially you're not going to be back weeks early.
Yeah. So obviously, you worked hard, got yourself back. Talk about your fitness after going back. You got yourself back to form in the book stuff. So talk to me about the end of the season. So how did that end for your last season with the Bucks, and then you transition into what you're doing this year?
Unbelievable, mate. I probably had the best finish to a Bucks career I could have ever imagined. At the end of my second year, winning the final, we didn't get to celebrate because we went straight to a students' camp. But at the end of my last year, mate, things started to come together. A few boys came back from injury. Unfortunately, Crono didn't, our captain, but a few boys came back from injury, like Bertie, Willow, that made a huge difference to our team. And mate, we started rolling. And then playoffs, beating Northumbria in the playoffs. And then Bath at home, we beat them, and we knew we were going back to Twickers. Unbelievable feeling to start with. And then it's a weird one because we saw interviews with Leeds building up to it. And they were like, oh, we're so happy to be going to Twickenham. It's real good. It's good for our university and everything. And they're saying they're so happy to be there. And everyone from Hartpury's like, no. If we lose, we're the worst team that Hartpury's seen. But then but for Leeds, the fact they get there, they're already the best team. But yeah, so then going on and winning that final was quality, and the celebrations after it with your best mates. They're some of the fondest days that you look back on, and I think I will look back on for a long time.
So yeah, so obviously end of that great. What were you looking at after that? Obviously, you've gone out, you've enjoyed that. Where were you looking to bring your career to then? Were you looking towards going professional? Did you think you were going to make professional? And what else was happening there?
So at the start of my third year, I got contacted by an agent, which I was pretty surprised by. I didn't really have kind of an idea that would happen to me. And that's kind of when I realised that, right, okay, I reckon I can do something here. And obviously that injury then, stuttered me through my third year, and then not finding form for a little bit potentially held me back, which was tough. But then, got an offer from Barnsley and Pasty to stay in my after my uni course, and I thought it was a good offer, to stay and develop under good management. I still had the opportunity to learn from Murph as well, who'd been coaching me the past few years, who was massively influential on my Bucks career. I thought it was a good opportunity to try and learn and develop in the environment, have good back rowers like Precy came in, who I've learned a lot from this year, an experienced back rower, Q as well, that I thought it was still a massive environment that I could learn from, and still is. Signing was kind of a no-brainer for me.
So that's a semi-professional environment, isn't it, at Hartpury, within their Championship RFC side? Clearly you're getting some cash for it, but like how would you cope with having your career on the side and also playing semi-professionally?
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting one, and some people take it in different ways. I like to think that even though I am technically semi-professional, I'm still a professional in how I act and my attitude and my training. I train probably just as much as a lot of professionals, I think, and I think people at Hartpury do. The thing we miss out, we just have to cram it all in such a short space of time because people have to go off to work. Like I train on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday mornings, and then team run on a Friday, which is pretty much the same as a lot of other Premiership teams. So in terms of the actual time that I'm training, it's probably the same, but it's just that it's early mornings and cramped into shorter sessions with less meetings. So there's potentially less clarity. But I actually think, there's always that dream to be a professional rugby player. And I have that dream, but working alongside rugby is no bad thing. And a lot of professional clubs, I know Saracens are a big advocate of it, of do something alongside your rugby. Don't just have rugby, because it's a good release, whether it's coaching rugby or doing something alongside it. Having something alongside your rugby is a good idea because it's a release for your mind, which then helps you be better on the pitch, in my opinion.
Yeah, great stuff. So obviously both yourself and Sam have done that. Sam had his teaching in there. You said, what have you got outside of your rugby?
So I was fortunate enough, so it kind of linked in with my degree in strength and conditioning. James Forrester Django set up a new gym in Cheltenham called The Huddle. And I'm fortunate enough to got a job there I run a kids academy there. And I do the S&C for Cheltenham Tigers, their men's and women's rugby side. And then I do a bit of PTing and class work alongside it. And it works. The hours are extremely flexible and they work. Django's fantastic. He works alongside my rugby. Being an ex-professional himself, he knows that I've got ambitions, and that kind of my rugby comes first, which is fantastic. And it also works well because, like I was saying, Hartpury train and we do all our gym work in the morning, and then I've got my huddle kind of in the afternoon, evening. So it works really well for me.
I think a lot of certainly aspiring rugby players have quite a lot of preconceived limitations to what they can do outside rugby. But if you want it and you want to have that release, like you said, like it's been so beneficial for me, and I've really enjoyed cracking on with some teaching and gaining some qualifications through them. But was the S&C stuff, so obviously you did that as your degree, was that always in mind to potentially go into PT, or did it sort of just slot into place for you?
Nah, kind of filtered into place, really. Like I didn't come out of my degree and think, I want to be a PT. It was an option, but it wasn't like a first thought. I did a lot of work through my degree on placement in schools and with academies, football and rugby. And it's a difficult industry to go into, especially it wasn't something I was going to do part-time with rugby, because if you're going to go into that, you have to put yourself 100% in and devote yourself to that completely. Whereas I couldn't do that because I want my rugby to be my number one at the moment.
Sure.
Cool. So let's talk this season. I follow Hartpury quite closely with obviously Sam playing there. I followed his career since we were playing together when we were about 10-year-old. Just looking at the squads this year, you captained Hartpury this year in some games, but you've also not been in the squad some games. How have you coped with that up and down nature of 1 week being in the squad, 1 week not?
Yeah, it's tough. A good season, a massive learning curve for myself. I've confided in Murph. I've spoken about him a lot this season, as well as my family. But it's been a big learning curve because when you're playing in Bucks, and especially my second and third year involved with RFC as well, no matter what happens, you're going to get a game. So if you're in the ones and you're playing well, you'll then play for RFC. But if you're in the ones and you're not playing well, you'll then play for the twos. So no matter what happens, you're going to get a game. Whereas this year, it's been a lot more tough because, you know, I'm on the edge of that. Well, I'm in the RFC squad, but I'm on the edge of starting. And some weeks it's brilliant and you start and it's great. And other times you just miss out, but there's no B team. There's no second Hartpury team. So
No
it's been tough,
as it were.
Yeah. So that's where it's tough. But like you say, there's an opportunity with every downfall, I suppose, because I've played some games for Bristol A-League this year, and that's been fantastic. And potentially not starting every game for Hartpury opened up a door to go to New Zealand. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, I couldn't, but that would have been a fantastic opportunity.
So, Max, any sportsman experiences not getting picked week to week? How have your personal experience of that, and how have you learnt how to cope with it?
So I think you're right. Like, everyone does experience it, but for sure it never gets easier. It's tough, but like I spoke about earlier, I think even for a professional rugby player, it's still massively important to have a release outside of rugby, whatever that may be, whether it's volunteering or doing whatever. But I know definitely my work helped me this year, being able to get out and not think about rugby, and not worry about selection or anything like that. Just kind of enjoy time. I know that was good for me during my time during this year when there were periods where I wasn't getting picked, because you're still training pretty much every day, so that it's still on your mind. But there's just my days were structured, helped me, like going rugby in the morning and then work in the afternoon. It helped me switch off, which probably helped me like regenerate myself.
So yeah, you haven't mentioned anything about the financial burden of, obviously within the semi-professional environment, you've got performance bonuses, so match fees as well, that you get. You've both been in that environment where you haven't been picked and you don't get. How much do the match fees come into your mind?
Obviously they come into your mind, and obviously bonuses are nice, but I think you're probably naive to rely on bonuses, because, you know, it's not just your ability that comes into playing and getting bonuses. It's injury. There's factors that you can't control, and if you rely on your bonuses and suddenly you get a big injury, I don't know, say you're a bolt-on starter, but then suddenly you get an injury and you rely on your bonuses, you know, you're in a world of trouble. So, yeah, obviously bonuses are nice and they're great when they do come, but don't rely on them. It's probably not a wise idea.
Or global pandemics, they don't help bonuses either, do they?
They don't help bonuses.
and yeah, just question. Obviously, a lot of players approach working in the semi-professional environment differently from others. A lot of boys, you know, go off at 9 o'clock, for example, at Hartpury, don't they, to get to office jobs or whatever. How much have you valued having the flexible hours as a PT, and how has that helped you? You're doing your own training.
Mate, it's fantastic, and my boss Django's helped me, or not helped me, but allowed me such a big leeway with it. Rugby's my number one at the moment. It's what I kind of really want to pursue, and it's what my goals are really based around. So I'd like to think that my training is professional. You know, everything I do with a professional attitude. So I like training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Not shooting off after training. You know, if there's extras going on, I'm always there. I'm keen for it. And gym as well, getting my gym in then
obviously helps that I work at a gym in the huddle, so that if I have any extra prehab or rehab, or I want an extra hypertrophy session or something in the evening, then I can smash it there as well. So Hartpury is an environment where you can take where you want from it. Like you say, you absolutely can be a player at Hartpury and turn up at 7 a.m, leave at 8:30, 8:45 straight after training, shoot straight off and go to work. Absolutely fine. But for me, that's not what I'm using Hartpury for. I'm just trying to get everything I can out from it, especially at the start of my career, and just trying to learn as much as I can.
Great stuff, Max. Thank you very much. We have 3 questions that we like to ask each guest at the end of each podcast. The first one is going to be, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given in your professional career?
So there's been some pretty good ones. I've got a good few people, good support team around me, I reckon. But probably the best one has to be my dad. Go hard or go home. Just kind of stand by that, really. Mate, just all in or all out, really. That I try and apply that to
I feel like I've heard
everything
that
I do. Yeah,
sorry, no, I did that now.
I suppose you can relate that to your work as well. I suppose, Max, if you're going to do a job, you do it properly. Mate, absolutely, and you apply it to everything that you do. Your training, your nutrition, your recovery, everything you do. If you don't try and do it to the best of your ability, mate, just don't bother doing it at all.
Awesome. Second question: is there a book or a series that you've been watching right now, or a film that might inspire people at home, and why?
Yeah, Shoe Dog, the memoir by Phil Knight, the owner of Nike. Absolutely quality book. Really, really good read. An extremely good storyteller of him building the company Nike. Fantastic book. I've just read it. Eddie Jones as well. That's real good as well. So Shoe Dog, awesome read. I think I read it last year. Did you take any sort of philosophical lessons out of that, or was it just a great story novel? Well, it is a great story novel. But I was chatting to Braggers yesterday about it, Josh Bragman, and a really good piece I took from it is when he says the art of competing is forgetting. Forgetting your pain, your doubts, and everything, putting that behind you so you can really reach your full potential. He's a runner, he's a massive runner, a big runner. That's his kind of sport. And that's massively true. Forgetting your pain and forgetting your threshold, and just telling separating your body from your mind and telling your mind no, that you can push on, telling your body no. So that's kind of the best piece I'd take from that. Nice.
Good stuff. And final question: what is next for Max Clementson?
It's a good question. I suppose short term, I've signed for Hartpury for next year, which is exciting. Hopefully, a big season ahead. But looking on, like we say, chasing that dream of a professional rugby player, and trying to push for that. But whatever this season had in hold, there was meant to be an opportunity coming up for me to go to be in New Zealand right now playing rugby. Unfortunately, for whatever circumstance, that's not meant to be. But I reckon that could be on the cards in the future for me. That I think you'd learn so much as a person and as a rugby player out there. It's the best rugby playing nation in the world. And I think every Kiwi I've met just seems to be unbelievably nice and humble. So I think that would be a great experience to go out there. But big things to come, hopefully.
Great stuff. If you guys want to know more about you or follow your journey, where can they find you?
At Max Clementson on Instagram and at MaxClem22 on Twitter. Yeah, and also give the Huddle a follow on Instagram. The Huddle_fitness. It's great. We're putting out home workouts and things you can be getting on with during isolation.
Cool. And on your Instagram as well, Max, I believe we can see your attempt at Sam and Will's NHS Crossbar Challenge. So Sam, tell us a bit more about that as well.
Yeah, if you listen to previous episodes, we've been plugging it a little bit. Myself and Will Hooley, a Bedford teammate of mine, have set up the NHS Crossbar Challenge to help raise funds for the NHS during this pretty horrific time. Premise is that for every attempt you have trying to get the crossbar, any ball, any bar, you give £1 towards the fundraising page we've set up. We've got about 850 quid so far, which is awesome. A lot of kickers doing it, but we've had a few hockey and golf attempts as well. So give it a go and nominate and challenge your friends. Should be a good little project to keep you busy.
Good stuff. And if you want to find me or the podcast, I'm MarkMoth996 on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find the podcast at Ruck Off Rugby Pod on Twitter and Ruck Off Rugby on Instagram. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe this video.